Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Perceptionist Playbook podcast. Woo. That's kind of become part of our intro now, just excitement, shouts of joy and an applause. So I hope you're joining in whilst you're listening at home, and shouting and wooing along with me. I'm super excited to get into today's episode. I've definitely been on the theme of UX UI and UX UI design. As you know, this season is all about UX UI and product design in the tech industry. And, with upcoming seasons of this podcast show, we will have other topics that will be the center of our discussion for the series. So yeah, let's get into the first episode. Let's get into today's episode of the Perceptionist Playbook podcast. So today's episode is all about my role, or should I say my journey. So I've spoken a lot and extensively about my journey, and I get a lot of questions about kind of like the jump from junior to senior and how that's been, just a lot of questions about that transition, and I have a lot to say. I definitely do have a lot to say about that transition, and yeah, I will be unpacking that today with you guys. So yeah, stay tuned and I hope you enjoy today's episode. So as you guys may or may not know, I am a senior UI designer. That is my official job title. However, I also have been a junior UI designer, and I'm still quite new to the design industry. And I always like to preface everything that I say with the fact that take my advice with a pinch of salt. I can only speak from my level of experience. And that is all that I do speak on, and I don't like to speculate really. So yeah, hopefully in the upcoming episodes I will have guests on the show who have different experiences that they can share with you that you may find a lot more helpful than just my episode or my experience. So yes, from junior to senior. So my first ever job in the UX UI design industry was actually as a junior designer. So I started the my bootcamp in 2020. I want to say October or November 2020. And then I graduated in the following year, 2021, in February or January. I think it was February. And then I was freelancing from 2020 to 2021. I freelanced full time. So that was all that I had going on. That was all of the income that I had. And then I actually ended up getting a job in December of 2021. That was when I got my first role. Sorry guys, I keep having to adjust the microphone just so you can hear me clear enough. So this is probably a little bit louder than it was just a minute ago. But yeah, I'm just adjusting the microphone so that it sounds great and it feels comfortable. There we go. So yes, as I was saying, my first role as a junior designer was gifted. I like to say it was gifted to me in December of 2021. So literally, I think it was like the 23rd of December, literally just before everyone went on Christmas break. And my manager, who obviously was the recruiter at the time, he was like, "Oh, I hope this is a really nice Christmas present for you." And I was like, "Yes, a lovely Christmas present for me, but you're gonna ruin someone's Christmas today, like." Because I was contending with somebody else. It was either me or someone else. And so I was like, oh, I'm happy, yay me. But this means that somebody else is going to be told, just before Christmas that you didn't get the job. So yeah, but I was still very happy for myself. And that was when I was gifted the job as a junior designer. And then I started my role in January of 2022. as a junior designer, and I was in that role until February 2023, which is when I left the role, put in my notice, and was gifted, again, because it's a gift from God, I was gifted the role of a senior UI designer in March of 2023. So that was when I started, in March of 2023. My journey has been kind of crazy, just because my jump from junior to senior was very violent. I wasn't expecting it at all, and I genuinely didn't sign up for it. Like, when I was applying for jobs, I was looking for mid-level roles, and although I wasn't really applying, I was just, like, recruiters were speaking to me, reaching out to me, no, I was applying. Yeah, I eventually started applying later on, after the fact. After being scouted for my senior UI designer role, I started applying, because I felt like, if I've got what it takes to be scouted for a senior UI designer role, then I clearly have what it takes to be a midweight designer. Why not start applying for midweight roles? And that was my logic. However, I want to be clear when I say, don't count yourself out, and don't be so quick to say no to yourself and to opportunities that come your way that could be outside of your comfort zone. Because I was looking for a mid-level role. I was even told by the recruiter for this role that, for my current role as a senior UI designer, that actually, it's not like as senior as the title may suggest. Like, it's actually still like pretty mid-level, midweight, so you'll be all right. And so that was really what I was holding on to when I was going through this entire process, considering the fact that I really, really didn't want to keep going, and I wasn't sure if I even would have accepted the role, even though I did in the end. I genuinely thought, I don't know, like, the fact that it's midway is the only thing keeping me going, but it's got a senior title. I just really didn't know, and I was really, really like, I was really on the fence about this job. Like, the entire recruitment, or the entire interview process, I was so unsure. Like, it was a mess, honestly. It was really a mess, but I'm really glad that I ended up taking the role, accepting the role, and accepting the gift, and just allowing myself to see myself flourish outside of my comfort zone. That's what I would say. That's what I would say is the journey to getting the senior UI design role. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and describe my role as a junior designer, and I'm going to describe my role as a senior designer, and I'm going to compare the two so you know what the differences are, if they weren't already really obvious from the title, because it's not always easy to tell from just a title. So as a junior designer, I would say that my experience as a junior designer was very unique, simply because the company that I worked at functioned as a startup company. So they actually had a lot of autonomy and a lot of opportunities to do things that were outside of the level of your role. So although I was hired as a junior designer, I personally believe that I functioned as a midweight designer. I was speaking to I was gonna say colleagues. No, I was speaking to clients. I was feeding back. I was defending my work. I was part of workshops. I was running clients through designs. I was pitching ideas for the designs and for the products. Like, I was part of these whole things. I was communicating with account managers. I was communicating with dev. I was providing assets. Like, I was doing every single thing that I felt like a junior or a midweight level designer could do. That's the reason why I kind of felt like my job was very midweight, although the title was junior. And that was why I actually took the job, because I had heard all of the horror stories about startups working for small companies. Like, you don't have to be in tech to know that people have nothing nice to say about people who own startups and run small companies, because apparently it's notoriously a nightmare, just because there's no organization. And it's usually just a nightmare. But I am really glad that I was able to get with a small company that was completely the opposite. They were really structured, really organized, and they were really invested. Or I say they, but my manager, the design director at the time, was really, really invested in just seeing me progress and seeing me do more. Like, he would never force me to do anything that I wasn't comfortable with. So if there was something that I didn't enjoy, for example, if I didn't enjoy wireframing, he would wireframe it and just give me the design and I design it. Like, he was super flexible. And thinking back, considering how booked and busy that man was, I really appreciate that he was willing to work at my pace and not his own pace or the pace of the clients in the company. I will also say, it's something I'm working on, and I don't really enjoy speaking about it, but I will, in view of true full transparency, I am a very slow designer, and I feel like we're never ever given enough time to get a design out. We're never ever given enough time. And the fact that he was really accommodating to my slowness, I really appreciated. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm super slow. Usually because I'm just super self-critical and every little thing is an issue for me, and I just get hung up on literally trying to round off a square component for years, just because I'm like, I don't like it like that. I don't like it like that. Yeah, it's just a bit annoying. I find myself very annoying sometimes, but yeah, I definitely feel like being a junior designer in that company prepared me to be a senior designer next. So yeah, it was definitely more midway. And I will say that if you're working for a small company, your role is going to usually be quite midway, just because you're going to be expected to be quite independent. You're not going to be expected to be handheld through your entire time at that position or in that industry, in that company, simply because they don't have the time and they don't have the capacity. And so they usually require people who are forward thinkers, self-starters, and who can kind of get on with tasks by themselves. Okay, so now to describe my role as a senior designer. Being a senior designer in a lot of ways is very similar to being in my junior design role, simply because the skeleton of the role is still there. So you're expected to design, you're expected to be a self-starter, you're expected to design by yourself, you're expected to have ideas and come to clients with ideas. You're expected to get on with your work and showcase a lot of confidence in your work. And you're supposed to be able to communicate with the different departments in the company. So account managers, project managers, the CEO, the clients, the agencies, because sometimes you get work from agencies who are like the buffer between you and the actual client. You need to be able to communicate with all of these people, and being a senior designer is very similar to being a junior designer in that respect. And like I said, in a lot of ways, being a junior designer at the company that I was at really, really prepared me to be a senior designer now. So yeah, that was really helpful. In comparison, or when I sit down and compare the two, I would genuinely say that being a junior designer at times felt like I was doing more work than I was paid to do. I would just sometimes kind of feel like, I'm saying a lot, I would sometimes kind of feel as if the expectations that came with my role didn't really match my income. And I was paid quite well for a junior designer, but I didn't feel like it was matching up or marrying up. And I think it's because in a lot of ways, because I'm so slow, I require a lot more time than the average designer or the average person, experienced person. And so sometimes it can seem like I'm working outside of hours just to finish my task, but it's not that I'm, putting in extra work. It's just that the work that I do put in requires a longer amount of time. And yeah, it's just a bit annoying, but I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. If you have advice for me, this is a great part actually. If you have advice for me, then let me know. Let me know ways that you believe that I can become faster as a designer and just churn work out quicker, you know? So yeah, I'll definitely say, like, in terms of responsibility and independence, the junior and senior roles are really, really similar. I would say like the biggest things would be the independence. Oh my goodness. Now, with a junior role, there was a design process. So I would do the designs, either the wireframe and the design, or my manager would do the wireframe and I'll do the design, or I'll do the wireframe and my manager would do the design. So that it was like tag team. I think I did once or twice, but I didn't really like do the discovery, wireframe and the designs by myself. And so discovery is when you put together a PowerPoint presentation pack and send it over to the client, or walk the client through the reasons why they essentially need this product and also need to hire you to design and build the product for them. So yeah, essentially I have a lot more independence in that area, simply because I was always expected to have my work checked by my manager / design director. But in this role, ain't nobody checking your work. Like, it's going to the client. And so it's up to you to do your due diligence and take it to the necessary parties. For example, in my company, I'm the only UI designer in the UK or in the London office. But then there's a UX designer who works in the London office. And there's a difference, guys. There's a big difference between UI and UX. Okay, I'm just saying. But yeah, so it would be great to show her my work, or show my manager my work, who is the creative and consulting lead. Shout outs to you. I'd have to show him, or it would benefit me to show him my work. It would benefit me to go to the Australia team, the New Zealand team, and the, international teams, and say, hey guys, I know you guys are probably super busy, time zone difference and all of these things, but this is what I've come up with. It would be great if you could give me some feedback. And everyone's like always been so receptive and super actually helpful, which is a nice surprise, because sometimes you can kind of feel like you're bothering people, but everyone at this company definitely encourages me to bother them as much as possible, and I find it so hilarious. Bless them. But yeah, I feel like that's the one thing I would say, like, just being diligent in getting feedback. Because when you're looking at a design, and especially when you're the one that started from scratch, and when you're staring at the design all day and night, it almost becomes a blur at the end of it. Like, it just kind of feels like like meh, like just some design. And I feel like in a lot of ways it's always nicer to get someone's feedback, because you can kind of see the beauty in it, or the areas in which you've kind of had a bit of a downfall. So yes, I found it really helpful, to be honest. I have found it really helpful getting feedback from other people, but that's something you have to go out and do by yourself. It's not part of the design process. And yeah, it's also a case by case basis, because a lot of times, like, a lot of times the projects won't really require you to get checked by anyone. It would be the client that would check it themselves and be like, is this even what they want, or is there anything else that you need? But it's always nice to do your due diligence and check for yourself. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that I kind of would say prepared me for my role as a senior designer, or that are super similar to the junior design role. And I can't really think of anything, just because I was just really independent, and I'm an independent person in general, like in real life. And so having independence in my workplace is right up my street, because it's my brand at this point. I would say that, like, I loved working with other people in my junior role, and I would love much more of that. I would love to have like UI designers that are also in the company, and that maybe have like different stories, different experiences to me, and we can, I can chat with, and those people can also be very helpful to me. But yeah, I don't know, like it's helpful having a UX designer on the team, but a lot of the times it's like a bit of a lonely world being a UI designer. Like, you don't always get the team collaboration that you would want, unless you have like workshops or you run sprints, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the only time you really get like collaboration. What else would I say? My advice for junior to mid-level designers, and even newbie senior designers like myself, I would say just, take it easy. First of all, take it easy. But I would definitely say that like the journey sometimes can seem a lot longer than it really is. Like, I didn't think that I was going to be a senior designer this quickly. I thought I would go to mid and then senior over a few years. But the time was really, really short, because I guess like I made decisions and I made moves that were going to get me to this position, whether I knew it or not. Like, I always went into finding my first role as, I need a job that's going to get me ready for my next role. Like, I went into the design industry knowing that I'm being fully aware of the fact that I want to progress and I want to climb up the, hierarchy ladder. And I felt like it was very important that if I wanted to do that, I needed to be in a workplace or in a working environment that fosters growth, that offers training opportunities, that help you to grow, that, have things that make you almost feel like you are somebody who can grow and progress quite quickly. So yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say on that matter. But if I do, I'll definitely post about it on my Instagram, The Perceptionist Playbook. But I genuinely just feel like at the end of the day, like, advice across the board is just like, believe in yourself, believe in your skills, believe in what you can do, because it's obvious that you can do it. You literally have come this far. Like, so believe in yourself, believe in those skills, and also, like, don't be afraid to ask for support, ask for help, ask for guidance. I'm currently on the hunt for a mentor outside of my workplace, because I kind of have one in my work or in my job. I would love to have someone that I can kind of speak to about my work and that can help me to progress as well as a senior UI designer. But yeah, like, just believe in yourself, extend grace to yourself. That's always my main piece of advice. I've probably said it multiple times in this series, but just extend grace to yourself and just be kinder to yourself, and understand that Rome was not built in a day, guys. We already know that Rome was not built in a day, and we just need to be better at kind of like letting ourselves go through the process as it's meant to be experienced. So yeah, I think that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening or watching or streaming today's episode. I hope you found it very helpful. If you have any questions, queries, or want to request a piece of advice from me, then definitely hit me up on Instagram DMs, in the comment section, or on my via email, at theperceptionistplaybook@gmail.com. That's theperceptionistplaybook@gmail.com. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you reach out to me on one of those platforms. If you have collaboration opportunities or anything like that, I'm definitely open to collaborating with brands. I'm looking for a sponsor for my podcast. So yeah, definitely get in touch with me, guys. Get in touch. I'm open to all conversations. And I hope you found that even a little bit helpful. I'll probably do more extensive episode on that with a guest coming up at some point. Ooh, I won't give anything away though. Where I can kind of go into more detail and be a lot more helpful. But I feel like this is giving you kind of like the basis and the basic things that you need to know. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, guys, you already know what I'm about to say. Don't you ever forget that your diversity is your strength. Thank you for listening or watching. Have a good day, week, month, and year, and I will see you next time on the Perceptionist Playbook podcast. Woo, 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 woo.